What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Police Off the Cuff After Hours. My name is Mark DeMeo. I'm your host. Sitting in tonight as my co-host is a frequent contributor to Police Off the Cuff. As a matter of fact, he's one of the producers of Police Off the Cuff now. We've hired him. He's a great... he has his own popular podcast called Mike in New Haven, and we call him the Prodigy here. What's up, Mike, the Prodigy Cologne? How are you?
I don't know about the Prodigy, but I'm very happy to be here. It's a very nice introduction, Mark. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining us. And we have a special guest tonight. I'm very, very excited to have him here. He's a retired NYPD detective. He worked in the Bronx. He worked at Joint Terrorist Task Force. He was one of the officers involved in stopping what could have been the bombing of the subway systems here in New York City. He's here to tell us all about it. And without further ado, let's introduce Angel Maysonet. Did I say it right?
You did. How you doing, fellas? Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for coming on. Before we get into you, Angel, I just listen. This is a very, very sad announcement, but Police Off the Cuff and the NYPD lost a great detective. Last week on September 12th, Sandra Urbino passed away due to COVID. She was a guest on the show. She was a dynamite person. If you remember her, that's her right there. She worked in Manhattan Special Victims. She was involved in a lot of great cases. And if you go back, you could see our episode with her and Irma Rivera. It was so much fun. I'm pulling it up right now. Here we go. Just take a look.
I'm going to come to that. He was doing a handstand. He was selling drugs. You know, plastic envelope. I'm going to say it's cocaine. I never did narcotics, but I'm going to say it's cocaine. But he was saying.
Mark, we can't see the episode. You have Sandy's poster up.
Mailbox. That's what
oh, really?
Yeah.
But he has some on him. Yeah, a lot of
oh, shit. Hold on a second.
Yeah. But, and then, you know, the guy.
I have Sandy's poster up. Let's go back. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm sorry. I forgot to get rid of that. Okay,
there we go. Now we can see it.
Okay, let's go. I'm sorry that I'm messing this up, but we'll get there. Wait a minute. Did I press this? No. There we go. Hold on. Okay, we're here.
The guy that he was doing the thing with split. So now we're stuck with this 6'2", 250-pound baby Huey. This SOB was 15, 16 years old. And here you have Irma. Irma works out. Me, I got 3 kids, a home I got to take care of. Not so much. And so then we're tussling him. This bastard has arms like this. We're trying to get his hand. And he's like going around like this with his arms. Like, what is this? He's going. These 2 women. So Irma's trying to grab his arm. I got to get his other arm. I see that he drops the drugs. And I'm keeping my eye on it. Irma has him, and Irma had a bad shoulder at that time. So did he get out of his shirt? It was my neck. It was my neck. Oh, your neck? Okay. I think he got out of his shirt. And he went down the stairs, and I looked at the drugs. Irma went after him, and I said, 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Grabbed it, put it in my pocket, and I ran after Irma. Irma ran after him. I'm going. Irma's going. I don't know who called the transmission in. 1013. I don't know if it was me or you. But I'm going. Get locked. Oh my God, I was in my 40s. Gee. With 3 kids, get out of here. And then we go down to I think in Broadway, he made a left, and that's when patrol cut him off. No, we had him. We got him. You got him. Yeah, we had him ahead of him. Patrol shows up, and I'm fighting with him. All right, cool. You see, I forget. And then you turn to me and said, I got the drugs. I go, yes. You know what happened? I used to work with some of these girls, like Sandy, like they used to wear skirts to work, you know? They used to wear like skirts.
you know, and like Lisa, some of them used to carry handbags and stuff. Like I'm a tomboy. I grew up with boys, so I don't carry really pocketbooks, you know. Some of the girls on patrol, like the detectives, right, Sandy, they would wear short skirts, heels, you know,
Yeah,
and you can't run like that on the street.
I ran really well. I mean, the heel gave me that little lift. I was fine. I was good. I said, oh, wow.
My heel was the Sandy lifted up her skirt, and she could get running behind me. It was fun. We had we did a lot of good cases in sex crimes. I mean, that was not even a
no. Give your intake on what.
She looks like a fun person, man.
Oh my God.
She was. Very sad loss.
Yeah, horrible loss.
You froze up, Mark, for a second.
There you go.
There
All
you
right.
go. Now you're back.
We're back? No,
Well,
not
you're
yet?
still frozen. We can hear you. Okay,
right.
now you're back. There you go.
Wait. Am I back yet? I don't know.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
No, I'm
you're
still
here.
not back yet. Hold on.
No, you're here. Technical difficulties here. But
Hello?
Live TV, baby.
Oh, fuck. I hope I don't have to, man. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. And we can see you
see
too.
me?
Yes.
All right. I'm good? All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was something, huh? Yeah, that breaks my heart. Just so you, these are her arrangements. It says, join us for a way to celebrate Sandra's life, Saturday, September 18th, 2021 at DeWitt Martinez Funeral Home, 64 Center Street, Pine Bush, New York.
Orange County.
Yeah, the viewing hours are 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And to her family and her friends, our condolences. She was, Bill knew her very well, and Irma obviously knew her very well. I met her through the show, but you could just tell she was a dynamic person. So may she rest in peace.
Amen.
So thank you for joining us, Angel.
Of course.
Let's brighten things up. This was an interesting situation here. When you were still in uniform, you delivered a baby.
I sure did. Little girl.
And then all of a sudden, now I guess you retired, you became sentimental. and you wanted to find out. Is that what you wanted to do? You wanted to find out
I wanted to find out where she was, right? She would have been 20-something years old. And
let's watch.
Go ahead. Yeah. That's funny.
On one kind of special mission, a quarter century ago, that's him in the picture, cradling a newborn he had just helped deliver on a street in the Bronx. Now, this detective, yearning to know what became of that little baby he helped welcome to the world. Now, the conundrum, how to help find this girl. Here's Lucy Yang.
I was terrified. I was frightened. I really didn't receive any formal training other than a video in the police academy, so it was pretty scary.
In the summer of 1994, Officer Angel Maysonet and his partner Jimmy raced to a top-floor apartment in the Bronx where a woman was in labor. EMS was delayed, so the young officer put on his gloves and went to work.
And she wasn't crowning. I saw another body part, it might have been a shoulder. And I just kind of, I got in there and I was just like, oh my God. I moved her, I shifted her. And then as soon as I did that, she basically came on out.
Angel was later promoted to detective, then served 7 years with the Joint Terrorism Task Force, where he helped thwart a plot to blow up the subways. After 22 years making the city safer, he retired to a more quiet life in the country with his family. But this detective with a big heart never forgot about that beautiful baby girl he delivered.
She's always been in my heart. I've always wanted to find out how she was.
Detective Maysonet has posted on social media the only photo he has of that special day at 1967 Marmion Avenue in the Bronx. Other clues: her mother is Honduran, and there were older siblings at home who slept through the delivery.
Sound asleep.
The baby girl would be about 24 years old now, the same age Maysonet was when he delivered her.
This was such a blessed event. And, we were both, myself and Jimmy, were so honored to be a part of this. It just sticks with you because it's something positive. I'm hoping that she's healthy and happy. That's all I want, is that she's healthy and happy.
I'm crying.
That was
click cancel Mark.
yeah. Hold on 1 second.
Administration drone.
Oh, we got Rand Paul here.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, click K and pause it.
The administration is, of course, reviewing.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh wait, I gotta freaking hold on.
You lag when you play the other media. That's what it is.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I can
listen,
always share it from my computer.
I'm figuring this out, man.
It's all good.
Are we back? Look at what happened.
So that night, I mean, I imagine was your first encounter in having to deliver a child. So when you get a call like that, I mean, obviously, yeah, it's one thing to train in the academy, but when it comes time to actually do it and put that training to work, what's even going through your mind in that situation?
It was crazy, right? We were so back then it was like a Saturday night in the Bronx, right? In August, so it was hot. I mean, we were running from job to job to job. So, they had implemented this policy that whenever they would call for a bus and ambulance, that we would go first, or we would, meet the bus there. And we just happened to get there first. And, there was no time to waste. I mean, she was sprawled out in the middle of the room floor. Her sister came to help from the other side of the building. You know how the buildings are. You can go over the roof and then come down. And we just went to work, man. We didn't even have time to think about it. And before you know it, I was in there and I was pulling that baby out, man.
Hey, did you ever find out who the girl was?
No, we never.
Still not
I
out?
never did. No, never did. They probably thought it was like ICE trying to trap them or something like that, right? So
no.
They never wanted to come.
Who knows, man?
Yeah, it was. It was good. It was good stuff.
I just want to give a shout out to the people that are in the chat right now. Stephanie Green is a new member. Thank you for becoming a new member, Stephanie Green. Stace on the case. Deborah Brown. Hello, everyone. Dennis Shino. He says, rest in peace. That's very nice. Where are we right now? Margaret Hearn. You back, Mark? Chick Eastwater. Factual breakdown. I'm hoping I'm getting everybody. So we were actually in the same. We were in the same company. We came on the same time. That you were in the midnight class, right? June 30th, 1992.
Yeah.
What was your company?
9239. I was in A squad.
Yeah, I was in B squad.
Yeah,
you were right before me.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey, remember the shot? Hey,
the showers.
Was there like 3,000 of us?
I think there was 1,700, but I just know that in the showers we were ass to ass and standing in 2 feet of water trying to get dressed.
Yo, I was the first one in, last one out every day.
Oh man, those were trying times, right? Safe Street, Safe City, David Dinkins.
I know, man. Remember that book? What was that? C-Pop.
Yeah, that was my first cop. I went out with a C-Pop guy.
Remember the book that they had? They used to have this huge book.
Yeah.
Where they used to you have to document all the nonsense they were doing. It was complete nonsense.
Yeah.
So you went to the Bronx. I went to Queens.
I went to the 4-8. I went straight to midnight. Well, I didn't go straight to midnights. I was in my field training unit for a few months, and then actually 9 months. And in September, I went to midnights. And in December 3rd, 1993, I got into my first shooting. Not even on the streets, 4 months, 3 months, and stayed on late tours for 8 years, and then
what happened?
Day tours, the anti-crime.
What tell us about the shooting?
So there was a club on Tremont and Webster on the 4-6 side called the Devil's Nest back in the day, right? It changed from the Devil's Nest to Rumba. It had all these different names. And Fat Joe was performing before he was anybody, right? Before he was Fat Joe, because he lived over on Fulton in the Fulton houses in the Fort 2. And it was actually his cousin. I'm doing a taxi stop. The taxi driver pulled us over and he needed us to translate because he was having an issue with a passenger. So my partner's in the passenger seat. I get out. I go to talk. All of a sudden, these 3 guys come out of the club and they start shooting at each other. Pop, pop, pop. They're in a triangle shooting. So I run up. I got my gun, my revolver, right? I get my revolver out. I'm about to engage.
Which one did you have? Did you have the?
I had the GPNY, the Ruger.
Me too. I had the Ruger too.
And the guy shot at me. I went to return fire. Everybody from the club got in between. I couldn't return fire. I chased him over to behind Webster to Carter Avenue before he got on the Cross Bronx to try to run. I ended up grabbing him. He had a long ponytail. He fought. He lost 4 teeth. It was I was screaming like a 4-year-old child on the radio for backup. I remember saying, they're shooting at me. They're shooting at me. He tossed the gun. We found it a few hours later during daylight. It was on top of the Shell gas station there. Collared him.
This is with less than a year on patrol.
Yeah, and he was on parole. He had 17 decks of heroin on him. He was on parole. Some things never change. And the district attorney, the ADA, Rob Legay, cut him a break. I don't forget the guy's name. He gave him 6 months probation for trying to kill me and let him go. Wow. Yeah, so I was angry. I almost got arrested at court because I jumped over the desk and I tried to grab the ADA by the neck. But
really?
That's a whole. Yeah. Oh yeah. I went crazy. Yeah. Fat Joe went there, made a complaint against me.
What was the complaint? Against what?
Excessive force because I knocked out his cousin's teeth.
Oh.
Yeah, when he fought me. So that is what it is. What are you gonna do?
Well, we left the academy. We left with a bunch of stuff. Remember all that stuff they gave you, like the little flapjack and all these different things, the weapons.
Yeah.
The little Billy Club. Remember the little Billy Club, that little black thing?
Yeah, I used to call it the Tate Quieto stick.
Tate Quieto. If you don't speak Spanish, that means
behave yourself. Behave yourself.
Yeah.
That's what we call a warning shot. That was a warning shot for me as a kid.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the chancleta, right? Once you saw the chancleta come out, you knew it was time to go.
That was enough time
to
go.
So you were working you were working, and then you got into anti-crime. You got anti-crime, right, in the precinct there, right?
Yeah. So right before the Amadou Diallo shooting, I was in anti-crime. I want to say about 6-7 months before the Diallo shooting happened. Then the Diallo shooting happened. Then it was rough being in anti-crime. I stayed in for about another 2 months after that, and I said, you know what? I want to go back to patrol. So I went back to midnights. Did my time on late tours, got into a conditions unit for a little while. Then September 11th happened, and then did my thing there.
Hey, for our audience that are they might not know what the Amadou Diallo, and we have people watching from all over the world here. Are you familiar with it, Mike? Do you want to say?
Yeah, I'll say what it was. So Amadou Diallo was an unarmed Haitian. I believe he was from Haiti, and he was walking down the street, and 4 street crime officers observed him, and he resembled a suspect that they were seeking for a sexual assault. Diallo, being new to the country and not really knowing his surroundings all that well, took off. He ran up the stairs. One of the cops chasing him fell backwards, and they thought that he had been shot. So thinking that their fellow officer had been shot, they took out their guns. They opened fire on Diallo, and he was shot 41 times and killed. It caused a big controversy, and it was the story of 1999 in New York City.
Yeah, that pretty much nails it right there. I remember there was a situation with the wallet.
So he was going to get his wallet, and
they thought he had a gun.
They had fire, contagious fire phenomenon.
And a lot of we've talked about this on the show in the past, but it seems to me like back then with the stop, question, and frisk and all these things that were happening that were reducing crime, there was a collateral damage, and that was the biggest evidence of it. Because sometimes you could be in a precinct for a little bit too long, and you still got to make the number. So whatever the number was in your particular unit, if you worked street crime, if it was 4 guns a month or 6, whatever that was, if the people are aware in these 3 precincts that you're covering that, they're being, street crime is here right now, they're not gonna come out with their guns. So, but you still have to come up with the numbers. So, what happens? People get flaked, and
I think the biggest problem with it was that they had these kids in street crime who weren't, they had like 4 or 5 years on the job. And, they were white kids from Long Island, most of them. They didn't grow up in a city. It's a whole different issue. I don't even think we have time to get into it. But it was wrong. It was the job's fault,
No, we got time. We got 3 hours.
I blame the job for that one. I mean,
Me too. We've covered this on the show quite a bit. It was just it became a numbers game, and that was the result of it. That was the worst of it.
Well, Howard Safer who was commissioner at the time, got a little bit too ambitious because he overexpanded the unit. It was fine where it was, but Safer wanted to go bigger, and going bigger cost him. Carrick kind of let it pass. Carrick only had a year to do whatever he wanted to do anyway. He wasn't going to stay beyond 2001. But when Ray Kelly came in 2002, I believe in August, he decided, okay, that's enough, and he took it out, and it's been gone pretty much ever since.
Yeah, I remember when Carrick came in. Carrick was a former warrant guy. So he built up warrants. I guess that's what you're familiar with, and that's what you feel like, really. So I became a detective on that tip. I got into the warrant squad. I was doing warrants in the precinct level. So that worked out in my favor. Sure. But that was another thing that was really good at kind of sort of keeping people going through the system, keeping track of people, And then, listen, right now, the way the city is, if you look at it, all it is just a bunch of people that they're not going through the system anymore. They're always there every day. That guy who terrorizes your neighborhood, walking around with no shirt on, grilling people all day, that guy, he's not getting a break. He used to get a break. He used to go back, refuel, get 3 squares, get some sleep, get off the drugs, get back on his meds. He's not seeing. They're not pulling him in anymore. Yeah. So he's there every day.
We had a guy.
Sorry, go ahead, Angel.
We had a guy named Slugger, right? That was his nickname in the 4-8. He ran around in the Lambert houses. And if anybody from Lambert is listening to this or happens to see it, they'll know exactly who I'm talking about. And he was that dude, man. He was like Debo from Friday. Like he was Deboing people's shit. Like, come, I'm taking your chain. And he was a big dude, and he was a fighter. And and not to toot my own horn, but me and my partner were one of the only sector car teams that he respected, man. Because I threw hands with him a couple of times, and he was a bad dude. He ended up suiciding, jumping off of a roof, supposedly, years after I was out of the 4-8. But he was a menace in that precinct, man. And my steady sector Eddie, he was a menace in that precinct for about 15 years, man. He was a bad dude. He was a big boy.
So then you went up to the squad, right?
Yes, I went up to the squad in 2004. I worked a RIP for my 18 months.
Robberies and burglaries.
Yeah.
And we paralleled each other. I did that too.
Yeah. And then I got to JTTF in 2007 by the grace of God, man. I didn't have a hook. It wasn't my good looks, and it wasn't a hook. So I was just fortunate. I was a super active cop, and while I didn't have a hook, I had bosses that went to bat for me, so to speak, like when I put in for it. A long story bearable, street crime, Bronxboro street crime was in the 4-8. And when I was in the squad, we shared a bathroom. Well, they tried to use our bathroom. And
the old shower thing again, huh?
They were, let me tell you something. So, the videos that everybody thinks is hilarious of these fucking clowns dumping water on people from the top of the precinct. So I would always come into work, and I used to look up, and I would see them up there in the 4-8, and they decided, because they got kicked out of the old Bronx Task Force, they got kicked out of the 4-3 for dumping water on people. And I used to always tell them, man, one day you're gonna wet the wrong dude, and it better not be me, because I'm gonna lose my mind. And one day they wet me. I was standing next to one of their coworkers, and we were walking into the 4-8, and they missed him, and they got me. And I ran upstairs. I put my gun on my lieutenant's desk, and I said, I'll be back. I went to the street crime office. They locked the door. I kicked the door open. I flipped 2 desks. I went ballistic. Like, I was like, I just lost my mind. Why? And because I thought it was unprofessional. I thought that they were guests in our house. I didn't like, you had civilians that were outside. I just thought it was stupid, childish shit, and I wasn't about that. I was very dedicated to that community because I worked there for the bulk of my career. And that was one of the things I said to them. I was like, yo, I get more respect from the perps and the people in the community than I do from you clowns. Like, you guys are fucking
Some guys were crazy.
Stupid.
I used to work with it was 3 guys actually. And it was so packed in warrants because I told you, what was the guy's name? The guy who, Carrick.
Yeah.
He built up, there was like, I don't know, 40, 50 people in
the
Manhattan
units.
warrants.
They had all those fucking
No, but in Manhattan warrants, that office basically it fitted 40, 50 people. That's how small it was. And the next thing you know, there's 190 people there.
Oh, man.
In this one office. And so there was no real, like, this one guy squeezed in a desk in like behind the door. And these 3 guys, they were all bodybuilder guys, so they really jacked up and stuff. They took his desk, because when they opened the door would hit his desk.
Yeah.
If he wasn't there, so they took his desk and they threw it out the window.
Oh,
and
shit.
when you came back into the command, all you saw was this guy's warrants all over the street. And it's fucking, it was one of those, what's that place they buy the furniture at? From IKEA.
Oh,
IKEA. It was an IKEA desk all smashed in the street. And we were in the projects right there on 98th Street and 3rd Avenue.
Man.
And then, so I definitely know that sentiment.
So that's how I got my interview to JTTF. So the next day, after I destroyed their office, the street crime sergeant was one of the clowns that was on the roof when I got dumped on. So I kicked his door off the hinges, and I grabbed him by the pecueso, and my lieutenant made it in because he had a bad knee. He had surgery. He finally got through the door because the desk that I flipped over was blocking the door. And he tells me, if you don't get out of here and go home, I'm suspending you. So I left. So the next morning I come in and my CO at the time pulls me in the office and there's like 5 bosses there or whatever. So there's one lieutenant who I just got to the 4-8, was a sergeant in JTTF. And he was like, my CO was like, why don't you get him an application to JTTF and get him out of here before he kills one of these street crime guys. And that's how I got my interview to JTTF. And 9 months later, I got transferred. I got my clearance and I got transferred in December of 07 to JTTF. And that's my story.
I'd like to go back for a moment. I mean, you mentioned September 11th. One guy, you and I follow each other on Twitter. One guy I see you post a lot is Sergio Villanueva. He was originally a police officer and he became a firefighter, rolled over into the FDNY and made the ultimate sacrifice that day. If you could share just your favorite memories of him, if you don't mind, I'd love to know more about him. Man,
Sergio was that guy. He lit up a room, man. He was on a few episodes of Cops when Cops was in the 4-6. Sergio was he was a ladies' man. He was a handsome dude. He was from Argentina. He was born on the 4th of July. He came to the States when he was like 3 years old with his mother and his dad. He was a great cop. He was in company 9237, I believe. So he was in my gym block. He was in my sister company in the academy. But we used to always get in trouble because he had a really bad flatulence problem. And whenever we were stretching in the gym, he would let it rock, and we would laugh and we would get in trouble all the time, him and I. So I hadn't seen him in a while because he had left the 4-6 and he ended up going to narcotics. And I found him. I ended up with him at court. I was working a case in court, and all of a sudden, I feel somebody jump on behind me, right? And they're hanging off of me, kissing me in the neck. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I turn around and it's him, right? I'm like, Serge, Big Daddy, because he used to call everybody Big Daddy. And, he called me Big Daddy. So I hug him. We're like 2 long lost souls, right? Hugging each other. And he's like, yeah, dude, I'm going to FD. I'm going to start a candle shop with my fiance. And, I need the hours. And, I'm about to leave. I'm just closing out some cases. And we promised to stay in touch, of course, like you always do, and you never do. And the next time I saw his face, he was listed among the missing in the newspaper. And it was a horrible, horrible loss, man. The guy was like, everybody, right? You have stories. Him, he was just a phenomenal, phenomenal dude, man. Phenomenal guy.
So being in JTTF, it's unfortunate it took this event to create a world-class counterterrorism operation. But nonetheless, when Ray Kelly came in along with David Cohen in 2002, the NYPD's counterterrorism, and by extension, the FDNY's counterterrorism division was essentially built up from scratch, but it's a world-class operation. I mean, they just did a feature on CBS and ABC with John Miller showcasing all the tools they have available to them, and it blows your mind. I think we're only scratching the surface with that. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of stuff that we don't even know about, and probably will never know about. So getting to that unit, which has so much carte blanche, I mean, how did that unit not only open your eyes to the threat that terrorism posed, not just to New York City, but terrorism's threat and presence around the world?
It was, I hit the ground running when I got there, right? I had, as soon as I got there, I had a case, Staten Island jihadi case, right? With this kid, Abdelhamid Shahada. He was trying to, he was a Staten Island kid, 20 years old. He was trying to join Al-Shabaab. I mean, he was trying to join Boko Haram, right? I mean, he was just, he was off the, he was a big follower of Anwar al-Awlaki, and he had a pod, it wasn't a podcast back then, but he hosted like a webcast, talking about terrorism and the jihadi mindset and the Salafi mindset and things of that nature. And I hit the ground running with that, doing wiretaps, investigating friends, putting up poll cameras, doing things like that. And I ended up going to Hawaii to lock him up because he circumvented the no-fly list and he ended up in Hawaii. He ended up trying to join, he went to Pakistan, tried to get in. He got turned around by Pakistan. One of my sergeants and another detective interviewed him on his way back. That's when he got thrown on the no-fly list. And then he decided in his infinite wisdom that he was going to go to Hawaii and he was going to either get on a cruise ship or rent a jet ski and go to Africa to join Boko Haram. I mean, this is the stupidity that we dealt with. He wanted to join the United States Army to do, and later he confessed that he was going to try to do an insider attack and kill troops. He was going to turn once he got into the Army. We went out to Hawaii. We did surveillance with Honolulu PD and Honolulu FBI, and I ended up locking him up. I got him to confess the whole thing, and he ended up getting 14 years in prison for that because nothing ever came to fruition. So
I'm interested in how this all works, the JTTF. But before we go there, we're at the half-hour break right now. I just want to do a one commercial, and Mike is going to read. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, if you need an attorney, as I often like to say, hurry and call Joe Murray. Joe Murray will help out anybody in the greater New York area. He's a great friend of mine, a great friend of Police Off the Cuff as well. And if you're in a pinch, call up Joe. His cell phone is 718-514-3855. Again, 718-514-3855. Or you can phone him at his office, 646-838-1702. Again, 646-838-1702. Or email him, joe@jmurray-law.com. Not only is he a graduate of the bar, he also spent 15 years in the NYPD from 1987 until 2002. So he knows both sides of the fence. So again, if you need an attorney, don't call these ambulance chasers. Hurry and call our friend, Joe Murray.
And Joe is healing up. He's mending and he's getting better. We had a COVID scare as well. And but Joe's getting better and he's looking forward to coming back on the show. We look forward to having him back on the show again. So, okay, so let's tell me how JTF works. So you're a detective with the New York City Police Department, and you get it into JTTF. Now, that means you're going to be working with an FBI agent, right?
Right, yep.
So what do they partner you up?
Yeah, so you go to a squad. I was on squad CT4, which was a Central Asia squad. They handled all the stands, right? Pakistan, Afghanistan, Waziristan, every stand. My partner was a retired, he was a former Marine colonel in the Marine Corps, graduate of the Naval Academy. The guy had a memory like a steel trap. He was just phenomenal. So he was he loved doing the admin work, which was great for me, right? And, you're on a task force and it's exactly what it is, right? You play well off of each other. I remember we went to do our first interview and we were going to question somebody in Bay Ridge, and we went to a building, and there was a little old lady up on like the fourth floor on her pillow, looking out the window, and he's asking me, he's like, where do we begin? And I said, we go talk to her. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, that lady knows everything about everybody in this building. She knows who's with who, who's doing what with whose husband and wife, who's doing, who's selling drugs, who's doing whatever. We go talk to her. And The task force was meant for that, right? Because everybody brought their strengths to the table. NYPD was street guys. Most of us, you get deputized, right? You get deputized once a year by the marshals. So we basically have every power that an FBI agent has, right? We're federal law enforcement officers. We were able to fly armed. You're what's called a TFO, a task force officer. They spend
So if
thousands.
I lie to you. It's a crime. It's a crime.
Yeah. It's called a 1001. That's what Shahada
No, because
got
the
convicted
FBI
for.
agents. That's when you know they have a
it's a
shitty
1001.
case.
Yeah.
That's how you know they have a shitty case when the 3 indictments happen to be for lying to them. That's all they
Listen,
got. Like, really?
It is
Are
what
you
it
fucking
is.
kidding me right now? So you had that
It is what it
authority?
is.
Because you know
It
as
is.
well as I
did.
do
I did.
that part of what being a New York City cop is, or any cop for that matter, in uniform, is that 99.9% of the time people are going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Even if, like, for no reason, just because they're scared. Like, I don't know.
Right.
You think I owe money on Blockbuster? I don't know what. You know what I'm saying? But
Library book.
but people just they always lie. So in your brain as a cop, what do? You decipher. Your brain, you learn to decipher the truth between a lie, and you do it
That's
while
right.
people are talking. And then you put the truth together all in one thing. Okay, this is what probably is going on right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but when you're a federal officer, if they lie to you, like this freaking guy Dunham, whatever was it? What's the case? Guys, he's still working on that fucking case, the Trump case.
Oh yes.
He just came up with an indictment that somebody lied to an FBI agent. Really, 3 years later, that's what you got.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is this: it's just that now you have that authority. If they lie to you, do you tell them that up front?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends. It depends.
I mean, do you mention that to them? Like, hey,
when you're working, when I worked this case, these 2 big cases that I was a part of. Yeah, I mean, you let them know. The feds are very, they're very methodical when they do stuff. So, they do the Miranda, they do the, if you lie to us, this is going to happen. These are your options, because it's just how they're built. And I'm of the mindset that, listen, I was blessed to be in the JTTF. It was important work. Our office was about 2.5 miles from Ground Zero in Chelsea. And I will never have a bad word to say about the Bureau. Everybody has their opinions. I love the FBI. I enjoyed working with them. There are snakes that work in the FBI, just like there are snakes that are doctors, lawyers, nurses, and snakes that are cops, right? But the vast majority of the FBI, the troops on the ground, phenomenal investigators, phenomenal people, did phenomenal work.
I think we work under different circumstances. Like, as well as I do, sometimes being in a squad, your boss will tell you to just go collar him. And as well as I do, you don't have enough yet. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or bring him in, like, wait, we should just wait. Let me just see if I get this one other thing. You know what I'm saying? So now you get into a situation where you're working with FBI agents who they're working at a much slower pace than you are, because you actually see, like, we could call this guy right now, and they're like, no, wait. And it's a lot of. Is there a lot of waiting? Like, what are we waiting for?
There was. The thing is, it's right. It's a marathon, not a sprint, like they like to say, right? So, you learn to sit back and let these things take their course. Because remember, you're dealing with a lot of different law enforcement entities. You're dealing with people OCONUS, right, outside the continental United States. You're dealing with, you're partnering with, the ISI, the Pakistani secret police. You're partnering with, Interpol. You're partnering with Scotland Yard. You go to The Hague and you partner with those people. So the dynamics are different. It's not like a NYPD cop talking with a Chicago cop or a Boston cop or a Cleveland cop where we know each other. You're dealing with international stuff, and there's a lot riding on it. So you have to be super, super careful to have all your ducks in a row, because when you're before a judge with what you call a Woods file, right, where you have to document every fact that you have there, you have to document it, right, and point it out, and you have all these tabs on this Woods file. It's important stuff, and that was what happened with me with the Najibullah Zazi case. I felt like they were dragging their feet too much, and I did what I had to do to get the case where it went.
And that meant, tell us what you mean by that.
So we had, Do you want me to go into what the case was about?
No. Well, I had brought that up. The fact that sometimes you feel like what you did to that guy was you basically told him, we know what the fuck you're doing.
Right. So the FBI wanted to stay on him on surveillance, right? That was their plan moving forward, right? I wasn't comfortable with that myself specifically. I said, look, we don't know if these guys got an unindicted co-conspirator. We don't know if there's something else that's waiting to happen. I'm not willing to wait. So through our intel partners, right, and through intelligence, we ended up ascertaining his kunya, right, which is a battlefield name. Only their handlers know. Their co-conspirators and their handlers are the only ones that know this name. So his kunya, which is still top secret information, which I can't share, I was privy to it. So without me telling the bureau, without me telling my bosses in the NYPD, we went to serve him. Myself and an agent from the State Department decided that we were going to go serve him with a warrant for his Bosnian and his U.S. passports. This kid, Adis Madujinin, who had gone over and got training in Waziristan in a training camp, in an Al-Qaeda training camp. And I went there with the kunya, and I told them, I took my shoes off, because they're Muslim, and I went in the house and I spoke to him, and I had a good rapport with him because I'd questioned him in the past. I had him in the box for 17 hours when he first became a subject. So his sister opened the door. I went in. I spoke to her. He was playing a video game. He comes out. I'm talking to him, and I says, "Look, we need your passport. So when the bureau takes your property, they make you sign a receipt." So my FBI partner at the time, who wasn't my original FBI partner, he had him sign the receipt. So I says, "Hey, did he sign Adis Madujinin, or did he sign?" And I said the kunya. And the look on his face, it looked like I punched him in the balls. Like, he was like, what the fuck? So I put my arm around him and I says, listen, we know what the fuck you did, and I'm coming back for you. Okay? It's up. The jig is up. And I put my shoes on, and he's trying, wait. And I said, nope. And I walked out of the fucking house, and my FBI partner's looking at me like, what the fuck did you just do? Got in the car, and he's like, my FBI partner's like, that's it. We're done. Like, I'm going to get fired. Like, this is crazy. And I'm like, it's going to work. It's going to work. I get in my truck. We go our separate ways. I'm driving, heading up the West Side Highway, and I get a call. They're like, yo, your boy just tried to kill himself. And I'm like, what? So what ends up happening, he calls 911. He runs out about an hour after we leave. He runs out of the apartment. Surveillance is on the apartment. They get into a foot pursuit. He jumps into his sister's car. He goes 100 miles an hour on the Whitestone Expressway, calls 911, starts yelling into the phone to the operator, we love death more than you love life. There is only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. He's saying this over and over and over again. He rear-ends a car trying to commit this last act of jihad. Nothing happens to the dummy. He doesn't even have a seatbelt on. He gets out unscathed. There's an off-duty Nassau County cop, I believe, tackles him. The surveillance guys grab him. They take him to the hospital, and then that's when everything unraveled, and we ended up getting.
Now, his specific plot was to target the subways, I believe, and this was on the 8th anniversary of September 11th, no less. There had been a bomb plot against the subways prior, if you remember, in July of 1997, and a dozen years later, it was going to come full circle with this.
Right, yep. So Najibullah Zazi was the main explosives guy. He was a Denver subject. Denver actually followed him. He drove from Denver to New York. They did a ruse car stop on the George Washington Bridge. They missed the detonators, which he had in his car. And he ended up, going. So now one of the imams that his dad knew, who was a source for intel, Intel started surveying all their sources and saying, hey, do you know this kid Najibullah Zazi? Do you know this kid Adis Madujinin, Zareen Ahmadzeh? The bureau's looking at the bureau wants to talk to them. So this guy, Ahmed Weiss Afzali, who was the imam, he ends up almost like a double agent, and he gave up, to the dad that we were looking at them. So Najibullah abandons his car outside of Grand Central Station, runs into the subway, he disappears. That's when we execute all the warrants. That's when I first got Adis Madujinin and had him in the box for 17 hours. That was a Saturday. Monday, I had him in the box. I had him on the side of the highway for 4 hours. Monday, I get him in the box for 17 hours. We had nothing. A lot of warrants, a lot of stuff, but we had nothing.
When you say 17 hours, tell me, go through us a little bit what it's like. You sit down there, you talk to him for a little bit, then you ask him if he's hungry.
So my thing was, I treated terrorists, right, or would-be terrorists, tier 1 subjects. This guy was a tier 2, associated with a tier 1. I treat them like an auto stripper in the Bronx, right? This is how I'm coming at them. I'm not treating them like, you know, oh my God, you're a terrorist. You know, I got to be careful what I say. You know, I was a detective, a cop from the Bronx, a kid in the Bronx. So I went at him like a cop from the Bronx. You know, I was yelling at him. You know, I was screaming at him. You know, I kept, you know, my partner was like, do you want an attorney? Do you want an attorney? And I'm fucking, you know, for 17 hours, we would stop. You know, I would have to, the only thing he could eat was pizza because we got him halal pizza. He was able to eat pizza. He stopped. He would pray. He would go to the bathroom and bathe himself and do his thing. And then he'd come back and we'd go right in the box. And Bobby Lasada, God rest his soul, he was he worked for the Attorney General's office as an investigator, but he was a sergeant on our job. He was basically standing outside of the interrogation room the whole time. And I'm talking to him, and you know, the guy's just giving a story. The story was that they went out there with a dowry for a girl. You know, they were $3,000 they were going to pay to bring one of their uncle's daughters back for one of their friends for a marriage, but it was a bullshit story. They brought money out there for Al Qaeda. So it was an exhausting 17 hours. I can tell you that. I felt like I ran a marathon. Not that I ever ran a marathon, but as close to it as I've been. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'm not as smart as I look, so it was tough. You know.
If I may switch gears. Oh, sorry, Mark. Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
No,
go ahead. It's your show. Go ahead.
No.
All right, fine. I was going to say, if I may switch gears for a moment, you know, you and I are both Yankee fans too. I don't know if they're beating Baltimore. I haven't checked the score, but it's been an up and down year. You got to work the security detail at Yankee Stadium, which is so cool, and be on the field. You know, so as a baseball nerd, that is the ultimate to me. You know, I joked with my mom one time, I would become a cop just for that alone. So take me through what it was like, you know, interacting with the players on the field to a certain extent and just working that detail.
So that was paid detail, right? So it was side work basically, right? It's like the Yankees hired us through the city to do this work. So I would work in JTTF in my suit. Then I would drive to Yankee Stadium and I would change in the garage into my uniform and I would get on the field and work the games. My last year, 2014, I probably worked maybe 60 games, right?
Wow.
I was always squared away. I always had my uniform squared away. So the guy took a liking to me that gave out the post and he always put me at the Yankee dugout, right? He always put me on that side. So we wouldn't go in the dugout because some dummy asked Jeter for his autograph when Jeter was a rookie. So they didn't want any cops in the actual dugout with the Yankees. The cops used to go into the dugout to the visitors, but we would go into the photographer's well next to the dugout. It was great, man. Jeter, him and I used to talk all the time. He would call me big guy. I have pictures on Twitter where you see us talking with each other. I retired in 2014, and so did he. Right, he stole my thunder because I was supposed to be the hero of retiring, and I was there for his last game. And Anthony Causi, who was a photographer for the New York Post, who passed away from COVID, he took a picture of me and Jeter, and I got it to Jeter, and Jeter actually autographed it for me. It's in my man cave. Class guy.
I always tell people that you know, because I live in the Bronx now, and I'm like, you know, the Bronx, it is what it is, but you have the Yankee Stadium there. And then, you know, right across the street from Yankee Stadium, there's like 3 or 4 bars there. And, you know, if you play your cards right after a game, you know, a lot of times you might see a New York Yankee at one of the bars there hanging out drinking. And this is like in my act, and I always go, nah, you'll never see a New York Yankee in a bar across the street from the Yankee Stadium. They get in the Lamborghinis, they get the fuck out of Dodge.
They go to Jersey and drink.
They don't want nothing to do with the Bronx.
Or Manhattan.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, listen, Robinson Cano and Melky Cabrera are in the Heights all the time.
Yeah. They were probably
getting haircuts, drinking marijuana, messing around with the girls.
They're probably at Herpes Triangle.
Oh my God!
Hey, tell us a little bit about Herpes Triangle.
Listen, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Herpes, I don't know what that is. That was in the 4-1. It was
3 bars on 4. There was 3 bars on 4 corners.
Yeah, you had Joe's.
And that's where you went to meet your future husband.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was where all the cops and the perps used to hang out.
Yeah. That's the funny thing about it, is that it's like you know, that's where the worlds meet. That and Coogan's. Coogan's was Coogan's.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. So Yankee Stadium was great, man. I was just fortunate enough to do that. I did it for a while. It was a great gig, man. It was the great, it's cliche, but they say it was the great, the front row seat to the greatest show on earth, and that's what the NYPD is.
Yeah,
That's
but
what it was for me.
You know what? When those guys are in the stands, they're not supposed to be watching the game. They're supposed to be looking at the audience.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, listen, when you came up between innings, if you see every picture of me, I got like this mug, right? And it's because I'm standing there and my big ass, I don't want to be chasing anybody. Like I'm 6'5", right? I got up to 340 pounds at one point when I was in the squad, eating pizza, tacos, handling homicides, Chinese food, you don't take care of yourself. And I didn't want to chase anybody because I was going to be embarrassed, right? Because they were going to outrun me.
You know what's funny? I'm going to bring this up right now. When I'm looking at you right now, and I'm not being, there's no offense. I'm just saying, you don't look 6'5" sitting there. You suffer from the same thing I do. Like I'm 6'4". I don't look 6'4" sitting in. You know why? Because we have short faces.
There you go. We don't have the long horse faces.
No, we
right?
don't. We have short faces. Like our faces would, not that they're bad faces, they would just go better on shorter people.
Yeah. Listen.
No, because if you don't believe me, think about this. We've all talked to somebody that had a tall face.
That's true.
You ever in a bar sitting there talking to somebody, then you both stand up at the same time? You're like, so anyway, and like, oh, no, I thought you were going to be taller.
Yeah.
You look like you had a tall face.
It's true. So I didn't want to chase anybody on the field, so that was my thing. I always looked as mean as I could.
They just had one on the field the other day, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, during the Mets, it was on the September 11th era. People are stupid, man. I don't know what the fuck. People are,
I love it, man. I love when people do that. I wish
you love it.
No, just watch. I wish they would show it on TV.
You look right. They always have. If you go on Instagram, somebody recorded it on their phone, and while they won't show it on the broadcast, they'll show it on Instagram. And, you got my runner Gary was on the one that happened in Yankee Stadium where he tackled the guy, and they had that was my runner Gary. He's a little dude, man, but fast as lightning, man. I used to always tell him, Gary, if they run, I'll be there to throw the cuffs on him. I'll be behind you, but you go get him.
Oh, you know what? We're running out of time. I want to show you something because you talked about this in one of your videos when you were on TV, and I agree with you 100%. So let me just bring this up here. Hold on a second. All right.
San Antonio police officer is having trouble taking this man into custody when a jiu-jitsu student just happens to be driving by and decides to assist the officer. He gets out of his car, he rushes in, he straddles the suspect's legs to limit his ability to build the house. And I just want you to watch this. Watch how effectively this civilian is able to assist the officer because of his jiu-jitsu training. The hand control, the underhooks, everything, the body control, the knee on belly you're going to see. And most impressively, how this civilian is able to communicate with the suspect and the officer, even right here, while the suspect is going for the officer's gun. Listen to what he says. He's talking to the suspect, telling the suspect to release the officer's gun calmly, deliberately. They're able to pry his hand off. And I'm going to let this play out right now so you can see the beauty of the intervention, the beauty of the assistance, and then we're going to talk more afterwards.
This is it's infuriating to me. I can't even.
This next part is beautiful right now.
Nope. No, I ain't fucking dude you're looking for, man. They was happy, not me, motherfucker. Turn around, brother, please.
Now listen carefully to the things the civilian is saying to the officer regarding body weight, underhooks, and control.
Nope.
The cop's a big boy too.
Watch what he does with his knee right here. He's going to stick his knee to get the other arm right now. It's beautiful the way he does it. It's real simple. No, with his elbow. With the elbow. Yeah, with the elbow. That's what he does.
You guys, I'm willing to bet that this jiu-jitsu student has never arrested a person in his life, yet he was able to pry that arm out with absolute alavanca and effectiveness.
Dude, you're looking for, man.
This is my favorite part right here. The jiu-jitsu student is so calm, and the positive
Wait. Let me hold on.
At this point,
Well, hold on. There we go. We're back. So so you were on the show and you were talking about how officers should learn jiu-jitsu. And my theory is if we're not going to learn jiu-jitsu, then we should at least have somebody who knows jiu-jitsu in the car.
Yeah.
So when you go to a scene, if you need to arrest somebody, you could always call the jiu-jitsu guy out, and he can
like a social worker.
Yeah. Instead of having
Listen.
social workers, give us jiu-jitsu guys.
Listen, my point was, and I know you got it, is that policing has changed, right? The days of beating people into submission are over, right? So if cops are being prosecuted and persecuted for using force, even when it's necessary, then the only other alternative is, you got to adjust with the times and learn grappling techniques, this way you don't got to beat the shit out of people all the time,
Yep.
and you don't have to be subject to oversight, and you don't have, idiots like de Blasio, suspending you or, taking your livelihood, so you got to adjust with the times. That's the thing that kills me. You have a lot of guys that are old timers like us, right? And even older than us to say, oh, if I was on a job, I would have done this, I would have done that. No, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done shit because you'd be locked up just like a kid with 2 years on the job would have got locked up. You got to adjust.
Yeah. I agree with you, man. But it's funny because the training that we went, like for example, when I went into that class with you in '92, I was already boxing. I was already doing back there was Jeet Kune Do. So when I went into the academy, like the biggest, like I'm big like you. So what did you do? You picked the other biggest guy, and then I fucked him up for 6 months because I was a fighter already. I just beat the shit out of this guy. What's up, Rob Johnson? Where are you? He'll deny it. But we said it, Rob Johnson. He'll deny it, but I fucked him up for 6 months.
Different times, man.
Yeah, they definitely need something. Or what they used to do was they used to pay for your classes or your gym membership. That's something I think the job should at least look back into.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
We're almost closing out here, but before we actually do, I want to just mention this right now. We'll go back to this because this is very important. My album dropped last week on the 14th, and it's available now on any streaming service. Trust me, you'll like it. If you like the show tonight and you think I'm funny, you'll love the album. There's a lot of police material on there. It's called The Bangers. There's a lot of jokes on there that I'm putting to bed. I'm putting to rest. But it's on Apple iTunes. It's on Spotify, Pandora, you name it.
Very good.
Wherever you can find comedy, it's there. And also, too, I just want to go through and say one more time hello to the people that tuned in tonight. We had a great episode. We talked so much that I didn't even have a chance to get to all this factual breakdown. I love police. She says, Chick Eastwater, Stace on the case. Margaret Hearn, Raquel Pranzo, she spotted that I didn't add the YouTube live in 7 p.m. on my thing because I forget to do stuff sometimes.
Getting old sucks, but the alternative is worse.
I just want to make boxing MMA 365. Thank you. These are all the people that are memberships. They have memberships on YouTube with us, and we have several different of them. Polish My Rack. That's one of them. No, in the
bucket.
The bucket is the first one. Then it's Polish My Rack, and then it's dipped in butter, and then it's dipped in heated butter.
Yeah.
And what you do with that is you help support the show. And Shannon Georgia Peach is down with that factual breakdown. Is that boxing MMA? They all tuned in tonight. I think we gave them a great episode. By the way, you were phenomenal.
Thank you, man.
By the way,
yeah,
and
we could have kept going.
No, we got a minute left.
I understand.
So you were on Fox News, and they invite you on to. How's that working out?
It's good. Pre-pandemic, I was down in the city for 5 minutes and then I have to drive my ass back up to Orange County, New York. They would send a car for me. It's fantastic. I'm humbled to do it. I'm very fortunate. I'm able to do those news hits. I go there. I go on Newsmax. I've gone on the Jesse Kelly show. I'm doing what I can to advocate for cops because cops can't speak for themselves. So I can say whatever the hell I want because I'm retired and I get no repercussions. So I try to fight as hard as I can for my cops. That's
hey,
my
Mike,
thing.
you got anything else for Angel?
No, I just want to thank him for being here. I shot him a message on Twitter, and he got back to me very quickly the same day. And I just appreciate him stopping by. And we got to bring him back for a part 2 sometime because we only scratched the surface of his career.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so
and
much.
speaking of Mike, he also has a podcast of his own called Mike in New Haven. And it's on YouTube. And he's got like 400 subscribers. So if you're a fan of us, can you do us a favor and just freaking push subscribe on this poor kid's page so he can get some people watching.
I don't ask for much.
It doesn't cost you nothing, man. Just go out there and hit subscribe. It's called Mike in New Haven. He's part of the show here. And what else can I say, man? It was an honor to have you on here. I'm happy that you had a chance to tell that story again.
Thank you.
And if you're roughly 24 to 26 years old, you feel like you're from Nicaragua or Ecuador, you don't know how you were born. Honduras. You don't know how you were born. You heard some cop might have delivered you.
These hands brought you in the world.
Very easily could have been Angel Maysonet. Maysonet. There you go. I said it right. You know what's funny? The thing is, my first name is Mayo. So when I look at your name and I see M-A-Y, I'm already adding O to it because that's my name.
Yeah.
So I'm used to, I want to say Maysonet, which would make you it would make you Dominican. If
my name, that's okay. I like plátanos.
Hey, I'm half and half. I'm Dominican, half Puerto Rican, half Dominican.
Oh, you are?
Both worlds. Yeah.
That's the both worlds. Yeah.
You're the real deal, man. I'm half Dominican, half Czech.
That's a mix.
All right. So to everybody that took the time out to tune in tonight, we really, really appreciate it. I loved having you as a guest, Angel. Mike, I love having you as a co-host. You were great tonight as well.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for tuning into Police Off the Cuff After Hours, and we'll see you next Thursday, 7 p.m. YouTube Live.
Thanks, fellas. God bless. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.